In case you're thinking all this is science fiction, consider the recent news that Elon Musk's secretive brain technology company is already testing implants on monkeys. So what I've discussed today is not that far-fetched. At MIT, my alma mater, researchers have figured out ways for people to do Google searches just by thinking. Imagine the entire repository of knowledge from the internet available just by thinking. We've discussed the future of education for a while. Let us now talk about the future of healthcare. In my last talk, I had touched upon this a little bit. I had said, if you think about what a doctor needs to do to diagnose an illness, she needs to consider all the symptoms, take into account all the test results, consider all the treatment options, factor in all the side effects of various medications and their interplay with other medications the patient is already taking. This is effectively a multivariate optimization problem that a doctor has to do in her head. And she needs to keep up with all the new research and advances in medical science and factor those in as well. The field of medicine is full of incorrect diagnosis and mistreatment of illnesses. Now, if you replace this whole process with software, which IBM is trying to do with their Watson supercomputer, among other efforts, medical diagnosis becomes a truly scientific, deterministic process. I can tell you, if I have the option of being diagnosed by software versus a human doctor, I would always prefer software. It will be far more accurate. Tonight, with the assumption that the brain can be seriously augmented, we can take this discussion further. What if all the medical knowledge of the world is not just buried inside the head of a doctor? What if each individual has that knowledge programmed into the brain? Anytime there's a symptom, human beings can self-diagnose rapidly what the issue is and what is the recourse. Sure, there would still be need for surgery, advanced testing, etc., but basic healthcare takes a giant leap forward. Think about it. Let's say you're diabetic. Anytime there's a sugar low below a certain threshold, the brain immediately triggers you to go eat something and compensate. Today, millions of people die of this kind of issues. No longer. The field of genetic engineering is of immense importance in this context. There are so many diseases that can be simply edited out at a gene level before a baby is born. Imagine a world without schizophrenia. Chinese scientists have already created 2 babies who have a dramatically reduced probability for contracting HIV. The regulations and ethics of these fields are currently murky, so research is stalling a bit. But sooner or later, I fully expect that this field will advance and there would be a dramatic impact on the quality of human life. What if Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer, cardiac diseases, diabetes, schizophrenia, autism, all of these can be genetically edited out? We are going to be a much healthier species. You can take this line of thinking and apply it to any field and extrapolate what might happen. So let us discuss the questions that I have stirred in your minds tonight. We have 30 to 50 years before this technology starts getting incorporated into society. Before that, a thorough philosophical reckoning of where humanity wants to go needs to be conducted. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions from the audience. Anybody? Are there microphones for questions? Yes, going to give you mics.
I may humbly say that all these stories of science fiction that you have just mentioned a few minutes back. Why I am telling so? Because still computers work on von Neumann architecture that however distributed it is, it works on von Neumann architecture. That means stored program control. This technology not yet enhanced sufficiently to tackle even 500 bits, all the 500 bits. I asked one big data analytics one question. How much time would you take to give me all the 9 variable Boolean functions? That means 512 bits, all sorts of 512 bits. And the stories of scientific fictions is all right, what you have told about the technological advancements. But in my opinion, I also work in computational biology. That is tremendously inter-subject.
So I think the point you're trying to make is that there is still a lot of work to be done. Yes. I have no disagreement on the subject. Can you bring the mic here to the front, please? Shamni?
That was a wonderful talk, Sramana. You spoke a lot about ethics, and one of the things that worries me is the problem of ethics in AI. Even self-driven cars have to have ethics built in. What are your views on this? How does one build in ethics in AI and machine learning?
It is one of the most important things that we need to think through as a society. And just to give you an idea, I'll repeat the question if you haven't got it in the back. The question is that what is the role of ethics in the evolution of artificial intelligence and machine learning? One example, for instance, self-driving cars. What does the car optimize? So let's say the car faces a dilemma. On the one side, it is going to run over a child. On the other side, it's going to run over an elderly person. What decision is that car is going to make? These are very, very complex questions. Do I have an opinion on this? I mean, if I had to make that choice, what choice would I make? I have no idea, frankly, what choice I would make. But it's a very important choice. And there are many, many, many other instances like this. There are instances in medicine. You're going to face, when robotic surgery becomes mainstream, there will be many, many, many decisions to be made. Let's say at childbirth, if there's a choice between a child's life and a parent and the mother's life, what choice is the robotic surgeon going to make? There's going to be lots of ethical questions like this. So, among other things, this is a TBD item, I think. Any other question? Oh, go ahead, please.
Not a question, but a very modest opinion. Well, I had been here when you were lecturing in 2016, was it?
Yes.
On the very gloomy prospects of capitalism. And you sounded very, very optimistic how to take it out of that gloom. Today, after 3 years, I find you even more optimistic. Much more, much more, much more.
Today I found a solution. When I came in 2016, I hadn't done the research to figure out how this is going to get resolved.
I am not skeptical about the solution that you have proposed. I find that you want humanity to change its character. If I am able to sum up the basic point that you want to drive in. And we know the huge number, the mind-boggling number of human beings who would be inhabiting in this little planet. Well, just
10 billion people, yes?
Sorry, this is a problem. Problem of technology again. This is what I will be driving at. This is what I will be driving at. Well, several billions of people will be living here.
Yeah, 10 billion people.
And the category that you say, that you, well, categorize as zombies, it is the zombies who would be simply swarming all over this planet. If you want to change humanity, you certainly would be directing your efforts to these zombies. And in that case, it will not only need, well, a colossal amount of investment, but it would also need a colossal amount of human involvement. And what kind of surgery? I can call it a moral surgery, a philosophical surgery, an ethical surgery. What kind of, well, brigades of human beings that you have in mind who will be able to achieve it. I really welcome what you have proposed, but there are these mind-boggling problems.
It is a mind-boggling problem. We are talking about an anthropological change. We are not talking about a little change here and a little change there. We're talking about a species-level anthropological evolution. Of course the problem is mind-boggling. Of course the re-engineering of the species, the evolution of species is mind-boggling. I absolutely acknowledge, but if you go back and either read what I said today or listen to the recording, you will see that all the points that you raised, I have addressed all of them in my talk today.
Firstly, heartiest congratulations. Wonderful talk, though very scary at times. My question or doubt or whatever you may say is that, you are talking of tremendous research and things like that into how to, sort of build in the ethical aspects and all that in the transplant, in the artificial intelligence. The biggest problem is no research is ever done without monetary consideration.
Sure.
You see, today one of the biggest industries, which is the pharma industry, now there is no doubt that tremendous research can be done into what prevents disease.
Yeah.
But as it is said, there is basically no money to be made in developing preventions. Money is to be made only in, getting disease and then how to cure. So that is why, almost over 99% of the money of the research in pharma industry is just directed at cure, never at prevention.
Right.
So similarly here, because, there is no body which controls these kind of researches. So obviously there is no way that you put in ethical element into such a body, super body. So there is no question of that. So how do you at all think that, there will be a motivation to do that kind of research?
Yeah, very good. You have several points. You raised several points. What is going to fund this research? What is going to fund these what is the driver? Why should this research happen? The good news is this research is happening. If you look at what's happening in the labs of Stanford and MIT and various small startups working on it, this Elon Musk project is probably one of the farthest along. The research is happening. There is funding already going into it. But let's take your point a little bit further. When a disease can be prevented by gene editing, if that research gets to a point that this can be done, one way to think about it is anytime a child is getting conceived, a certain testing is going to be required and certain gene editing is going to be required as part of the process, just like today we do certain tests when a child is getting conceived. And that test costs money. That gene editing is going to cost money. So there will be a body of service providers, just like hospitals and medical service, clinical service providers. There's going to be a body of people who will be making money off that procedure. So it's not like that does not have an economic model, a purely capitalistic economic model attached to it. So that one actually is quite a solvable, manageable problem. The ethics element is trickier, but at the same time, I think, today, the school that you have studied in, Narendrapur, has built into its structure ethics, right? Ethics is taught in Narendrapur. Moral science is taught in certain schools. The Jesuit schools all had moral science in their curriculum. Not all schools have it, but I think if you look carefully at what I've said today about the future of education not through schooling, but more through the implant process, there will still be schooling, but the schooling is going to be a lot more advanced because the implants is going to take care of the basic education. Today we are trying to teach children ethics. Do not steal, do not lie, all these things, parents teach their children. So building this into the implant process is not that big a stretch. The interesting opportunity actually here is that, you tell people children not to steal, you teach them not to lie. That knowledge often gets lost as the child grows up and faces life. Life hands you cards and then you have to play those cards, play with those cards, make decisions and live life. Sometimes situations are tough. But if there's an implant driving decision making, and if that implant has strong control over what that person is able to do or not, then ethics is going to be not just a fuzzy logic, it's going to be a more dominant force driving human psyche. That, I think, is an opportunity, and I'm very optimistic about that opportunity. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
Hello. So, what do you think, who will win, AI development or human resources development? And what do you think about artificial intelligence and artificial wisdom? Can artificial wisdom be developed ever? These are my two questions.
I'm not sure if I understand your question. You're asking who will win, artificial intelligence or human resource development? Is that what you said, the first question?
Artificial intelligence development or human resources development.
What did I say in this talk? I said artificial intelligence is going to drive human resource development. That's the basic premise of my talk today. So why does anybody need to win?
Okay. And do you think artificial intelligence can artificial wisdom be ever developed?
Again, what did I say in my talk? I'm talking about a different caliber of human being that can be enhanced even on the wisdom dimension with artificial intelligence. That was the premise of my talk.
But do you think individuals will dominate, or as teamwork, cooperation will dominate?
Well, I think the success of the species is because human beings have been able to collaborate. So in the species that gets designed going forward, we have to bring collaboration as a fundamental skill set. I think that makes us a lot more powerful than pure competition and pure individualism.
Okay, thank you.
There are several over there. I'm very happy that you're all asking these questions.
Being a software engineer, I have a question to ask you. You throw some light on the cybernetics, what the MIT is doing now. Practically, when I started my career, it was Intel 8088, the personal computer first came with the DOS and Unix and my age of Microsoft, the Paul Allen and my DOS, all this. So throw some light on this cybernetics.
I don't think I understand your question. I'm having difficulty hearing you, so you have to...
I want to know something about what the Western world is working on cybernetics. Cybernetics. Okay.
It's a little bit off topic. I don't think it will be terribly. I'll talk to you offline. How about
Sure.
It's probably not going to be so. The field that is of importance and relevance for all of us here, and you should be very aware of this, which is relevant in this context, is cybersecurity. All of us are constantly attached to a device right now. The device is not implanted in our brains yet, but the device has become an extension of us. And with that, each one of us is eminently hackable. So there's a lot of bad characters who are playing with security of these devices, and we all are extremely vulnerable to being hacked. Home security systems, you have all these cameras looking into your homes. The phone itself is one. I don't know to what extent Alexa is being marketed here in India from Amazon. This is this device that listens to everything. You ask it to play music by, Suchitra Mitra, it'll go and play music. But at the same time, it's also listening, recording, processing constantly. And this level of intrusion and privacy violation is just extremely uncomfortable for my taste. Anybody else?
Madam, my first question is about ethics.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Yeah, I am here.
Go ahead.
About ethics, today all the presidents...
Can you speak to the microphone?
All the presidents itself, like Trump, Modi, Russian President Putin, they don't follow ethics. How you can expect ethics to percolate down? This is my first question. Second question...
They don't have ethical implants in their brains.
Okay. No, I am saying from the top-down approach, if the top leaders are not following any ethics, how do you expect ethics to percolate to the bottom?
By the time this kind of technology will come into society, we're not there, as I said, we're not there yet. In the next 30, 50 years, things are going to move slowly. But once this kind of technology comes into full deployment in society, it's a different species, a different kind of man that is going to be living on this planet. So your question is going to become moot because, democracy becomes viable. Right now, what is democracy? A bunch of uneducated people voting on issues that they have no understanding of. Brexit is a very good example. They have no idea what the hell they're voting for. But if you have, 10 billion people who are all educated at a certain level of intelligence, this is a different democracy. That's a real democracy. And they will elect differently. Different kind of leaders will be running the planet.
My second question is that, do you think, people from outer planets, they are contributing to this technological change?
No idea.
Because I read one book.
Absolutely no idea.
I read one book, Conversation with God, in which that man asks questions to God and God replies that I have made humankind mortal, and that because you people have destroyed the world, and you people have shortened your life, and actually if you...
Why don't we let other people ask questions? This is a topic I have nothing to say about.
That's it.
Can you move that? Okay. Can you pass the microphone around?
Hi, Ms. Mitra. So I recently did Vipassana meditation.
Yeah.
And since you spoke about Buddhism, and there's a lot of conversation about what humans would... There's a lot of conversation about what humans would do when, all this technology comes into play, and a lot of humans would not have anything to do. And it looks different from the previous times, and then humanity would have to start searching for meaning. And I guess spirituality would take on a new role at that time in human life, where people would need to be okay with themselves.
Look, if we have there will be a time before all this other stuff kicks into society and the general social fabric of mankind, there will be a period where I think there will be a very large population of people who don't have work. They're not going to be working, they're going to have to keep themselves busy another way. Now there, societies that know how to operate without a lot of work and still have meaningful existence will do better. I mean, to some extent, I was talking to my father this afternoon. I did not put this in my opening remarks, but I will share what my thoughts are on this about Bengal and Calcutta and this part of the world. You know, we haven't had, in this part of the world, we haven't seen industrialization of the order that other parts of India or other parts of the world have seen. We missed the industrial revolution, all the manufacturing industry passed us over. Calcutta never really got to enjoy the glories of information technology that the rest of India has really, risen on the wings of. But people in Calcutta have a certain culture. They love to cook, they love to eat, they love to talk, they love to see friends, family. There's a lot of art, music, poetry, theater, all these things. These are the things that make leisure enjoyable. If you're not working, there's still other things you can do that are meaningful and that are not zombie-like things. So societies that will have a good handle on this kind of lifestyle will do better and sustain better, I think.
So my question is, if societies are able to handle this lack of work, then why will man want to become Superman? If I'm
then
okay
why
with,
would man want to be...
If I'm okay with who I am, why do I want to have this implant?
I
just want to be happy.
Very good question. Let's actually talk. This is a very, very good question. So let me address this question. Think about, put yourself in the shoes of a company. Let us say this company is a bank that employs 10,000 people. And then there's this bank comes up with a piece of software that can automate what these 10,000 people do. Just installing one piece of software gets rid of 10,000 people's jobs. What is this bank going to do? Is this bank just going to install this piece of software and lay off 10,000 people? And what is going to happen as an aftermath of that? There could be a lot of bad PR, there could be a lot of things that are not necessarily great. And what is going to happen to these 10,000 people who were doing basically back office jobs for a bank? They can't. These 10,000 people who are doing back office jobs cannot just flip and become data scientists, which is a much higher order skill set. But if an implant can take a back office data worker and turn that person into a data scientist who can then command a job with a good salary and a good ability to earn a livelihood, yes, they will want to have that implant and have that opportunity. So a lot of this, I think, is going to be driven by economics. Maharaj, আমি কি শেষ করব?
What will happen to our natural brain?
The question is, what will happen to our natural brain? To be perfectly honest with you, this is not my field. I'm not sufficiently knowledgeable about neuroscience, but I will tell you what I think will happen. All this stuff is going to be interplaying with each other. The implant is going to be an implant that plays with the general neurological process of the brain. So what happens if you have a pacemaker today? The pacemaker is interacting with your body's system. There are all kinds of implants that are going into your bodies right now already. So they are interacting with the natural biological processes of the body, and I think that is exactly the direction all the neurological implant systems are going to go.
What is your view about singularity, Jack Ma, even Elon Musk for the matter,
in the fear of AI taking over and becoming intelligent, and the stories
This is AI taking over and becoming intelligent. There are many different points of views. There's some points of view that AI becomes more powerful than human beings and takes over the world and does all kinds of funky things with it. The point of view that I'm taking is that, which I think is kind of the healthiest point of view, is that let's just use technology that is inevitably going to come. Let's take that in stride, use it to enhance the capacity of the human mind and have a good time. Yes. Do I have permission to go on, Maharaj? আমি কি continue করব? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে।
Thank you, madam, for your lecture. I have just listened to it partially. But what I guess from this lecture or the discussion that is there in the house, that don't you think that ethics is again defined by the same capitalist economy for the developing countries? And the second important thing, so whenever we are talking about ethics, if you study Stiglitz from the economics point of view, that how we are defining ethics in the third world countries is just the replica of what is there in the first world countries. And the question he has raised about cybernetics, that whatever we are doing about whatever we are talking about information, the way we are getting the information in the developing world, as you have mentioned that there is less development in West Bengal compared to the other parts of the countries, or at large other parts of the world too. So what is important, that this lead, lag, that is related with information. The information we are getting is also controlled by the capitalist hegemony in the 21st century. So how to define ethics? Don't you think that this is a utopia? I may not say, if it is an utopian, it's fine that how we are defining ethics. But it is leading us to an utopia where it is not possible for the developing world particularly to define ethics in its own sense.
I'm not sure at what point you started listening to this lecture. I think I started off by painting a quite dystopic picture, not exactly utopic. So the solution that I think can address this dystopia is what I've talked about in the lecture. So I would encourage you to go listen to the lecture when the recording is published, and then you can ask questions maybe by online means of what it triggers in your brain. Okay, আজকে শেষ করছি. I'll be around. You can ask me questions offline. Thank you.